I may have a parity here, so I'm going to stop at this point, and I'm going to put all of my corners in. So let's pick a side. I'm not going to put any edges in. Obviously, the edges aren't even made yet, but I need to get perspective in terms of where everything is supposed to be. So I'm going to pretend like I'm going to the next step and get my corners in. So let's sort of start off with this side over here. I need a little green corner over here, which is this guy here. So turn, 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 turn. Okay, over here it's going to be the green, yellow, and white. Find the green, yellow, and white. This is just sort of a shape of things to come later. Kind of gets you prepared, challenges your perspective so you can see this corner is where it needs to be. Now believe me, despite the fact that we don't need to do this yet, it will be worth it because you want to know that you're where you need to be. Yellow, green, and red. Plus it's just so fun moving this puzzle around. Can't resist. Moving this in here. Now I'm very tempted to move faster than I should, and I don't want pieces popping out at me. With this puzzle, I've yet to have anything pop. So that's good. Nope, not yet. I think I had it, but I think the movement of this is somewhere between the 5x5 version and the 7x7 version. All right, that was my problem. I was trying to line it up with this corner. So anyway, this is in, this is in. So this is sort of our proto side here. Now we're going to move it over here and see if these corners up here actually make sense. So our centers are still in, and let's study our corners here. See if we have that impossible parity. So this is out. This is out, obviously. This is out because there's no yellow in here, and this is out. So let's be absolutely sure by rotating these around that we're in the proper configuration. So I'm going to keep my perspective here. This is my F, this is my R, so boom, boom, boom. I'm just rotating the corners. This algorithm is exactly the same as we just did putting in our centers there. Because when you think about it, they're kind of like proto edges. So let's see what we got. Well, this is still out, this is still out. This is in. You can see that it's white. This is in. And this, red, white, yellow, this is also in. This is an impossible parity. If I went and I solved this and I got all my edges in, I would find myself stuck. Because you can't have 2 in and 2 out, if you recall. So good. We get to show how we get through this. So the first thing we should do is let's get the edges into what is going to ultimately be the right configuration. I'm sorry, the corners in the right configuration. So let's just say this is in. Let's make it to where only one is in. Bang, this guy over here. So this is the one that's in. So I'm gonna try to rotate everything in that position if this is in. So forward, forward, back, back, forward, back, forward. Boom. Shazam. Okay, so this is in, not in, not in. One more time. Forward, forward, back, back. I'm just doing Rubik's Cube stuff, keeping my perspective. Luckily, I have done this for so long and have had experience. You can see this is right, this is right, this is right, and this is right. So this is the right configuration. This is where I have to stop, and now I have to take a look and see how this is incorrect, because I'm going to need to use this as my keystone. So what needs to happen is that this, without moving these guys around, this center needs to be turned like this. But it needs to be turned without turning the whole side. This whole side has to stay exactly where it is, but just these centers need to turn. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to do that by just doing the algorithm to move it around. So let's go back to our proto-center here and ask ourselves where things need to be. Where things need to be is this needs to come over here, this needs to come over here. So I just need to remember that, let's say, this here needs to go where this white one is. So that's how I need to do that. And this is okay just the way it is. As long as I have this steady, I'm not going to move this. This is going to stay here. This is going to be the keystone for this whole side. But I need to get a keystone here, and what's going to happen is that this is going to have to be the white and the red and white. So I just have to remember that. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to see about taking this and putting it where it's supposed to be, here. So I'm going to move this down to here. So this will come up here, this will come down to here. So forward, boom, boom, bang, bang, pow, kersplat. And be careful to move this over here. Okay, so that's what happened. This is the same configuration as is this bottom portion here, but what I did is I moved this up to here, this down to here, this down to here. So this needs to go where this is. So how am I going to do that? Maybe flip this over like that. That way I can more variably not use this, or not affect this. So if I say move this, yikes, here, this will now come down to where this is. So that's pretty good, right? This will come down to here, and that's exactly what I wanted. This will move over here, but that's okay. So forward, forward, back, back, boom, boom, bang, bang. And we quickly move this back into place here. Okay. So that's what happened. This now was moved over here. I still have my keystone over here, so that didn't change. So I'm going to move this back over here because that's where this needs to be. This is now moved to where this was. I'm going to move this down here now. So what happened is that this came where that was. So where do I go next? Well, this is now in place. Now I got to start moving these guys. As I rotate these again, this will come here, this will come here, and this will come here. I'm actually going to want to move these down. Two movements of the algorithm will move this back in. 1, 2. 1, 2. So this will be put in 2 moves. This needs to come here, actually. So I'm going to move this down so that I can move it up to here. I'm going to move this like so. So forward, forward, back, back, boom, boom, bang. When you're carrying all this in your head, the temptation is to move fast, and you can't do that with this. Bang, and move this back. Now we can move this to here, and this will move over here, this will move down here. Forward, forward, back, back, forward, back, back, forward. Okay. Alright, not too bad. So what do we have left? This is now where it needs to be. 1, 2. Well, this will move up by 1. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this up here, this will move here, and this will move down here. But that'll be okay. Just watch what's going to happen, because I'm going to equivocate these two. So I just want to put this side in. So forward, forward, back, back, boom, boom, bang, bang. All right. Oop. Okay. Very nice. All right, so this is where it needs to be. I'm just going to move this here for the purposes of coordinating it with these. So picture what's going to happen. This will come here, be in, this will come here, and this will come here. So I'm making use of the equivalency here. Forward, forward, back, back, boom, 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 and boom. All right, so these are now in. So if we did this correctly, we should have everything in. We should have everything where it needs to be. So we'll just coordinate these with the right layers. Here's our proto layers here. Okay, now let's get our corners back. So with our centers where they need to be, how are we doing? So this is right. I mean, it's rotated wrong, but it's still right because it's yellow, white, and green. Yellow, white, and green. This is right. This is right, and this is right. We're so proud. So that's how you prevent parity in the hexaphobic, this kind that we saw with the 4x4. I stopped it at the 4x4 layer. So now I know that all of these are coordinated correctly because all of my edges are where they need to be. So now we can move on. Now we can move on to finishing the last two layers. Now that I've got a keystone in here, which defines how to put these in. So now we're going to get to these guys. Then we do the edges, and then we have ourselves a megamorhix, or a master pyromorphinx rather. Okay, now that we have the first part of our centers in, and they act as kind of a keystone, we can now hit these guys over here. So the first part is pretty simple. What I'm going to do is, if you recall from the 7 layer, I'm going to start working on it pretty much section by section. I'm going to work on these corners over here, because really these corners kind of represent really the same kind of thing as here, just an extension of these. These are all corners within the center. And the algorithm is actually exactly the same. The first step, just like with this and just like we did with the supercubes, is let's kind of get bars on the bottom here. So actually, is there anything here that's already where it is? Now, I don't have to worry about parity or perspective now. That's already been taken care of. As long as I don't move these around, I can move these any which way that I want. So are there any that's actually already in? No, not really. So what I can maybe do is put this one in, and this one is over here. So I want to put this down to here. The way that I'm going to do that is, why don't I just move these like so? Because now what's going to do with this algorithm is this will come here, which is what I want. This will come here, and this will come up here. You know, alternatively, I guess I could just move these down and just go like turn 1, 2, and turn. Okay, so why don't I do it that way? All right. So that was actually easier. Okay, so this is actually put in, and again, I'm not really worried about orientation here. That's already been taken care of. So these two are in, and now I'm gonna maybe want to do the same thing here. These two they're not exactly in, they're sort of oriented wrong. So what I'm gonna do is I want to put a bar in over here. So why don't I move this? This will come up here, which will be in place, which will be where it needs to be. This will come down here, this will come, and this will come over here. All right, so this algorithm using this part as the R, that's going to be R, UI, LI, U, RI, UI, and L. And move that back here, so that because that got turned. This didn't change, none of these change, it just does all those movements. Now, I actually made a miscalculation. That's just to kind of demonstrate what happens there. This actually isn't the right one. This one has to be placed. And once more, should place this where I want it. So forward, forward, back, back. I have to say, a lot of puzzles that I buy, especially rare ones, are very difficult to turn in and require a lot of patience. This one is just a pleasure to operate. All right, so that's where it needs to be, and notice we didn't touch this at all. Okay, so we've now defined the periphery here. You can see this is in, these are all in, this is in, and these are all in. Okay, the next part is interesting. We've seen this with the 7-layer also, and I think maybe the 5-layer too. All of these, in addition to that, we had to put the equivalent of centers in by basically doing what we've seen with the megamorhixes. We don't have to do any of that here, but we do have to do a variation on this algorithm, this 3-cycle turn, that instead of going here to here, here to here, here to here, or in this case here to here, here to here, here to here, what I'm going to be doing is varying that algorithm so that I can start moving these guys in place. But I want to do it to where I'm not going to mess up what I already did. As long as I isolate the different stripes here, then I won't actually do that. So when I move a side up, I just have to remember that when I move a side down, if it's an end slice that I'm moving up, it's got to be a middle slice that I'm moving down. So if this goes up and I do my turn, it's got to be a middle slice that comes down. So if I just do that, then I'm going to be isolating these maneuvers. And if I start off with this middle and I move a middle up like that, don't want to screw myself up there, this will come here, this will come here, because it's going to be at the end that I'm going to be moving, and this will come here. So if I just remember that and I just keep that in mind, it's going to make more sense. So let's reason this out. I need to put a brown one here, and it's going to have to be this one. So this is not where it needs to be, so I'm just going to move this down, move this out of the way. In the meantime, this isn't quite where it's supposed to be, but what I could do is by moving this here, this brown one is going to come up here and be where it needs to be. This is going to come down here, and this is going to come up here, which is also where this needs to be. So I'm coming up with a net gain with that. And this algorithm is exactly the same. I just have to make sure I'm doing this layer and this layer. So here's what I mean by that. This is going to be my R here. This is going to be my L over here. So same thing. This comes up here to my R. Make sure it's clicked into place there. This is my UI. And now my L has to be the end here. So this comes up here. Then I turn it back. And now the middle one comes down. Turn it here. And this comes down. Now, you'll notice that this is really just a variation of putting in the sides. It's just kind of a variation of those big cubes. This turns back. So notice this was placed. And this is placed. Actually, it was really the wrong one that was put in here, but that's okay. I wasn't trying to solve it anyway. So now what I need to do is start moving things in the correct configuration here. So what if I were to move this here? This white one is now free to come up to here. This yellow one is going to come down here, which is not, I don't think it's the correct yellow. But at least it puts it where it's supposed to be. If we don't like that, I can always move it here, but we'll just start putting in as many as possible. So this will come here, this will come here, and this white one will come here. So this is not going to be where it needs to be, but that's okay for now. So forward, back, back. The fun thing about this is that I have different types of choices as to what I can use. I'm not restricted to one piece. So it does ease it a little bit for me. Makes it a little bit easier that I have multiple pieces that are of the same shape. So that's okay. This was now put here. And as predicted, this is kind of skewed. But that's all right. So I'm going to keep working on this. Could I maybe put this white in one that's shifted up? Yeah, this one over here. Well, no, I'm not going to be able to get to it from there. So we'll kind of follow suit. Here's an upset, here's a brown one that's kind of on the upside, which can fit very nicely here. So this will come here, which is good. This will come here, which is the right one, and this will come here. So you can see that by the end of this cycle, this will come here, which will solve this. This will put this here, which is appropriate, and this will put this here, because this is offset up, which is where it needs to be over here. So let's see what happens. Forward. back, boom, boom, bang, and pow. All right, so I'm kind of liking that. You can see things are taking shape nicely. This indeed was put in, as was this, as was this. So I'm going to use this particular algorithm to its fullest. So let's see what else is up here that isn't where it needs to be. Well, there's a yellow one. That's not where it needs to be. And then there's this yellow one that's not where it needs to be either. So maybe I can cycle these guys around. Any of these that aren't? No. I'll have to sacrifice some of these, but that's okay if I play my cards right. But in one cycle, this will come here, which is where it needs to be. This will come up to here. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and the reason is because I'm sharing whites between both of these. So I'll be able to cycle it back and maybe trade easily. But at least this will come up to here with the next movement. So forward. Forward. Back. Back. Forward. Back. Now I don't have an overall strategy. It's all very intuitive, and that's kind of what makes it fun. So now this was placed exactly where I wanted it. I did move a white one down, but you can see I don't have any browns that I did from that maneuver, but I do have this over here. So now I can start working on that. I can start maybe putting this yellow where it's supposed to be, which happens to be potentially here, but then I'd end up moving this one up, which I don't want to do. So what if I tried to cycle some of these guys around? Because now I'm cycling whites, which is easy. So in one move, this will come here, which is where it needs to be. This will come here, which is not where it needs to be. This will come here, where it's not where it needs to be. So at least this white will be up here, if nothing else. But then I still have two whites that aren't where they're supposed to be. So I'll still have a net gain of placing this. So forward, forward, back, back, forward, back. And perhaps there's a more efficient way of doing this, but I'd rather not memorize that for each puzzle. I'd rather be able to just pick up a puzzle at any time and do what I got to do. Anyway, this one was placed. So all of these guys are in. Now what can I do to sort of make right some of this that I did? Well, here's a white one that just doesn't belong. And if I just put this here, I can cycle this with this white one and it'll be perfectly fine. I'm not going to ruin this because these two are pretty much equivalent. This will then move down here, which is equivalent, which is where it needs to be, and this will come here, which is where it needs to be. So it's a win-win situation. It's a 3 cycle, and I'm able to do that because I have equivalency. I have actually less actual centers to deal with. So I've got colors that are combined together. So let's try it and see what happens. So forward, forward, back, back, forward, back. I tell you, some of the puzzles I only let myself solve a couple times because they take a lot of patience. This, I feel like I can pick up at any time. So we didn't touch this, but we did put this right and we did put this right. So now what? Now we can see that we've got all of these areas correct. So we're kind of done with that. Now we got to start doing it from this layer with these second ones over here. This algorithm again is exactly the same. The only difference is I'm not starting with this layer, I'm starting with this layer, which means this layer is moving up, so this layer must move down. Yeah, this layer must move down. So let's see what we can do here. Well, I want to move this brown up, so let's just find the brown piece that's supposed to be here. Because what's going to happen is that this will come here, then this will come, and this is going to come down along here. This will come here, and this will come here. So that's going to be the general cycling, because this is going to be turned over here, and this is going to be moved down to here. So it's fairly easy to visualize what this commutator is going to do. So this will come here, which will fix it. This will come here, which won't be appropriate, and this will come here, which won't be appropriate. So we're going to need to do some cycling around, but at least this brown will be where it needs to be. So proof of concept here. So forward, forward, back. Now I got to remember we did this side. Now I got to come down. We've got to come up with this side. Here, turn, turn. It's a pretty nifty commutator because you can actually visualize what's going on. So you can vary it should you need to do that. All right, so this was actually placed, and this was placed appropriately, and as predicted, we kind of messed with these, but don't worry, we've got these that we can draw upon. Speaking of which, what about that? What if we were to try to fix that? Put this up here, which will fix it. This will come down here, which won't do us any good at all, but this will come here, which will do us a whole lot of good. So there will be a net gain with this, of putting white ones in. Alternatively, we could move this like here and do exactly the same thing. This will come here, which will be fine. This will come here, and this will come here, which you're just substituting one for the other. So why don't we do this one? Is that there appears to be something of a net gain of 2 here. So this goes up, forward, back here, and up here. This comes here. Boom, boom, and bang. So we're good. You can see the center is almost completely in at this point. So let's see what we can. Now this yellow color is pretty unique. So what I want to do is I want to start cycling it in, perhaps with this yellow color. So this will come here, won't do any good at all. This will come here, won't do any good. This will come here, won't do any good either. So what if we cycle it twice? 1, 2, it'll be fine. 1, 2, it'll be fine. 1, 2, and I'll just have a white one stuck up here, which I can maybe exchange with this brown. So I'm going to do this commutator twice now. So all is well. We just have these guys. Now, in any other cube, just cycling 2 is going to be a big mix-up and mess-up, but not in this case because we've got a bunch of whites we can deal with. So let's put this in here. Let's put this here. And let's see what we got. Okay, so this is all fine. These guys just need to be cycled. So how are we going to do that? Well, I can borrow the fact that I've got white ones here that I can use and not change this at all. So if I turn this here, this white won't move. These won't be touched with this algorithm. This will be completely spick and span. So what I could do is this will come here, or better yet, why don't I move this like this so I can keep cycling things. So this will come, if I do this algorithm twice, 1, 2, this will be in. Twice, 1, 2, this will be fine. 1, 2, that'll be fine. So 2 applications of the algorithm should fix all my centers. So everything is in and everything is in. So that's my variation on that algorithm, just by knowing how to separate those sides. Okay, so let's actually move our centers in, just so that we're happy and satisfied with things. All these appear to be in. And as you can see, this is right, this is right, this is right, this is right. So I know that all my corners won't be a problem. That was just to demonstrate that. But the next step, we are far from solving it, is to put all of our edges in.